Hey guys, what is going on? So I just kind of wanted to go over what I'm planning to do towards the end of my bulk here, as I am planning on wrapping it up here pretty soon. But I do want to hit some PRs before I do that, and so I'm going to be peaking my bench once again, doing Triphasic, and I'm going to be changing up my supplementation as well, which is just me going back to straight Turkesterone. So for those of you who are not familiar, I have been running 3 Ecdy, 3 Turk, I think since December. So I switched over to that once I hit my 405 bench, which was December 7th. So I've been running that for, what is that? 3-4 months at this point. So it's been very good. I think I've gained quite a bit of muscle, to be honest, in that time period. And I've gained 20 pounds as well. So obviously most of that being fat, some of that being muscle. Now my volume PRs on my bench have gone up across the board, all around, 2 reps or 20 pounds or whatever it is. So I would imagine that, my ability to hit a bench PR in a 10 to 20 pound range is pretty realistic. Even if it's 10 pounds, I'd be happy with that, but I'm kind of aiming for like a 425 bench here towards the end of this. So Turkesterone for me has had this very obvious increase in strength for me. So Ecdysterone, I've talked about it before in terms of it being more of an endurance benefit, and Turkesterone, not that it doesn't have that effect as well for some people, but I just noticed that it's disproportionately kind of favored towards strength. And so last time I peaked, I was running only Turkesterone. Then I switched over and added, 3 Ecdysterone into the mix and subtracted 3 Turkesterone. And now, considering I don't really need any endurance and I'm just kind of trying to peak my bench and get as strong as possible, going back to the 6 caps of Turk per day. So again, that's what I did during my last peaking program, and I did a round of Triphasic, so I'm going to be running that same kind of program, even though it's just this kind of auto-regulated thing that I made up with inspiration from Cal Dietz, who coined the term Triphasic training, and it's going to be a lot of those concepts, but just doing it my own way, which is how I always do things. So I had a lot of success last time I did Triphasic. I had a lot of success last time I did 6 caps of Turk. In all honesty, I didn't think that it was going to happen as quickly as it did. So I'm trying to do that same thing again, and I'm very obviously stronger across the board since I did that last time. So I think I really should be, hitting some PRs within the next, 6 weeks, however long it takes. So that's my plan. Maybe take this bulk for another 6 weeks or however long this takes, and then I will start my cut. So that is my plan there. In terms of what I do for Triphasic, I don't really want to share that just because the amount of volume that I can handle and what works for me is not really true for anybody else. I would say 95+% of people would not want to do what I do. But towards the end of, when I do it, I can kind of go over the specific stuff that I do. I can go over the exercises, and you guys can kind of figure out what you want to do in terms of frequency, volume, stuff like that, if you want to replicate that. But I do think that Triphasic is a really good, option to peak your bench. And I'm not really one of those people who wants to follow a traditional powerlifting, peaking program. I just think that that's kind of a waste of time for me. So I figured out my own way to do it. It was successful for me. I think Triphasic kind of primes you for future growth as well. So I'm going to be doing that. If you guys are interested, I'll probably make a video towards the end when I go for my PRs, what that training protocol is like. And then again, you can kind of play with the volume and figure it out for yourself because it is different for everybody else. And then as well, Turkesterone, I have time and time again realized that when I'm taking 6 Turkesterone, that's when my strength is the best. I'm not sure the mechanism of action there, but through anecdotal evidence from a lot of you guys, from my personal experience, which is all that really matters at the end of the day, I know that Turkesterone and being fully on Turkesterone as opposed to doing, stacking Turkesterone and Ecdysterone, having the max dose of Turk is what allows me to be the strongest, and so that's going to allow me to peak. So that's probably what I plan to do, and then once I finish that and I go on my cut, I'll probably go back to the 3 and 3 because that's kind of the sweet spot in my opinion in terms of being able to add size and strength and stuff like that. I think it is kind of the best of both worlds for me. Obviously you're going to get maximum strength if you have the max Turk dose, and so that's what I'm doing here. But for kind of long-term gains, I think that the stacking is very good for me. And again, this obviously only applies if you respond to both, which some people don't even respond to either. They're few and far between, but there are some people who don't respond to Turk or Ecdies. It does happen, but some people respond to just Turk or just Ecdy, and obviously in those situations, no need to stack at all. And that's why when people ask me, how should I stack Turk and Ecdy, it's like, I think you should really experiment with them individually first before you make that conclusion. But one thing that I can kind of recommend in terms of kind of saving you money if you want to go that route is start off only with Ecdysterone, because most people are going to respond to that, and you can usually get away with 2 or 3 capsules of Ecdysterone is usually either sufficient or the max you'd possibly need. Usually 4+ is overkill, although some people have had some diminishing returns, but still some level of increased success doing that. But start off with like 2 or 3 Ecdysterone, see if that works for you. If it does, then you can add a few caps of Turkesterone on top. And as opposed to having to run like 6 a day to see if it works for you, you can try and just do 3 and see if that Turk adds anything. Because even for me, even somebody who only responds to 6 Turkesterone by itself, when I stack them, the Turkesterone is an added benefit. So when I take just 3 Ecdy, it's not as good as stacking them. But if I were to take just 3 Turk, I don't notice anything from that. So that's one way to kind of be cost efficient, not waste your time. Because while you're running those 3 Ecdy, assuming you respond to them, which would be the only time you'd want to stack them anyway, if you keep those 3 Ecdy in, even if the Turk doesn't add anything for you, you'll still be making gains from the Ecdy, where you can pull the Turk and say, okay, I'm not going to buy any more of this. It didn't work for me. Or if it does work for you, you're one of those blessed individuals who responds to both, like myself. And usually, from what I've heard from all of you guys, combining Turk and Ecdy seems to be the best option overall. I've heard that time and time again. It's true for me. But again, if you're very specific, like for example, if you're doing a powerlifting meet and you do respond to Turk, it's probably best to just run as much Turk as you can to get that maximum strength benefit. So anyway, just some suggestions. That's going over what I'm doing. And I think, some PRs are about to, be on the table. And I think I have gained some good mass here. I might even be able to gain some more mass over the next 6 weeks, which would be awesome. And then time to cut after that. I'm not planning to get super shredded, but I will go over everything that I'm doing when the time comes. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'll keep you updated, and I'll talk to you soon.